You all to our November Lunch and Learn regarding scent evidence. And our speaker is actually doing an on-site training. He stepped away, so we will wait for him to get back before we start. And I know people are still coming on, so. All right, so Paul, you're back. You're good to go.
All right.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce Paul, our speaker. Paul Cooley is a former FBI forensic canine operations specialist, and he has dedicated his entire career to public service in the field of education, law enforcement, criminal justice, investigations, forensics, and emergency management. He founded Scent Evidence Canine in 2012 to help communities and law enforcement agencies improve their methods of locating missing persons. Like many other canine handlers, he faced the challenges of finding an effective scent article during deployments. He developed the first scientifically tested and proven scent preservation kit. So with that, I'm going to let Paul say hello. And you can add to that before we start in the presentation.
Good morning or good afternoon. I'm actually in Tennessee. We're training up here this week, and we actually have teams out doing a mock exercise looking for an individual that's missing. And so if you hear radio traffic in the background, I'm monitoring the search for this individual. We got teams on the ground. So, and maybe towards the end of the presentation, we'll pull one of the dogs over and let y'all see one of our forensic tools with floppy ears and slobber. So we are grateful and thankful that you've asked us to speak to your group. The people you serve are individuals we serve as also people that are dealing with all kind of different challenges in life. Sometimes those challenges create issues and they wander or they run away. And what our company's been designed to do is to bring those people home as quickly as they can. So I think Dina's got a PowerPoint.
I am going to share my screen. And I'm going to, y'all let me know if you can see that. Hang on one second. There we go. All right. Okay.
So you see the dog I'm sitting there with, that's Stella. She was the AKC Hero Award winner in 2020. Stella's had about 50 finds. So she actually found a gentleman that had been missing for 15 days is how she won the award back in 2020. If you can kind of go forward a little bit there, Dina. So we look at the populations, at-risk populations for wandering and going missing. Autism or people that are dealing with some kind of intellectual difficulties, we see a high number of those. Children on the spectrum, 50% of those go missing. And when we first started doing this, I think it was 1 in 63 kids were dealing with autism. Now I think it's down like 1 in 52, 53 now. So we're seeing a huge increase in that. Individuals with dementia, 60% of those would go missing. And another group that we do a lot of work with is teens who are dealing with suicide or being trafficked. So those are the populations that we really put a lot of our resources in. And one of the things we do different than most agencies, or all our stuff's trauma informed. So we include that in our protocols for searches and in the way we train our dogs. If you see the young lady over to the right there, at age 87, she was diagnosed with dementia, and 2.5 years later, she goes missing. Well, she had used one of our scent kits, and we'll talk about those in just a few minutes. They called the team in we trained. They had the scent stored. They were able to find her within 5 minutes. The other little fellow there with a green hat on, this happened this year in Apalachicola. I was actually down there doing a training. The young fella is 4 years old. He's autistic. Mom went to the store, came back. He was with her. She's putting groceries in the house. She thinks he goes to see dad in the back building there. 15, 20 minutes goes by. Dad comes out of the regular house, and the little fellow Noah is missing. So we were able to come in with our scent kits, The bloodhound there is John John's, one we trained for Tallahassee Police Department. And there was probably a couple hundred people there. They'd used other canine assets. From the time we gave John the kit to the time I put my hands on him in waist deep water was 12 minutes. If he'd have taken 2 more steps, he'd have been over his head. So it's just some great stories that we've had success wise for our program. Okay, you can go forward a little, move forward on the next one. So we have our programs called Bringing the Lost Home. In Florida, it's really popular. We're on our 5th year of appropriations. And what we do with our program is we create awareness, we provide the scent kits, and then we have an individual preparedness plan that caregivers can do for individuals they're taking care of. And we also teach a protocol that's trauma informed for doing these searches. We're putting canine resources into communities. Right now, we're in about 25 counties in the state of Florida. To talk a little bit more about the kit itself, that IPP, as we call it, the Individual Preparedness Plan, is probably one of the most crucial components of the kit itself. It's a flash drive. It has fields for caregivers to go in and fill out, and a lot of it's trauma informed. Are there safety words? Are there medical issues that we need to be concerned of? Are there things that the individual's scared of? Have they gone missing before? All the demographic information that we need to do a good search. Because what we're finding in the field is when a loved one goes missing that you're caring for, you're dealing with trauma, and a lot of times you don't give us correct information. So we can take this IPP and use that information to start a good search. And we're seeing huge success by using this information. And it also creates an awareness for the caregiver to maybe put some stopgap measures in to keep them from actually going missing as well. And if you have any questions as we're going through this, just type up. Next slide.
Yeah, just put them in the chat and then we
Okay.
can also open it up for Q&A at the end too.
Yeah, community awareness has been really huge. When we first started our company in 2012, when we had caregivers that would not admit or even want to talk about their loved ones going missing. What we're seeing now is because we have things that they can do to help prevent that from happening or to help us relocate them quickly, we're actually having a lot of conversations. And we've been able to bridge the gap between law enforcement and individuals that are providing care. So they were creating conversations. One of the things that we're really proud about is law enforcement agencies we're working with are actually working with their community providers. So if an individual does go missing, law enforcement's reaching out to those community providers to kind of help caregivers work together to potentially stop it from happening again. The other challenge we dealt with was a scent article. And I'm sure most of you have seen this on television where they just grab a coat or cap or something and present it to the dogs. That works occasionally, but the science behind this is anything that you have in your home that you're using from that individual that may have wandered, other odors are going to be on that. Other individual odors are going to be on that piece of clothing or other article that we collect. So it creates more complications for the canine team. Our scent kit takes that equation out of it. We'll show you in just a second how you collect it, but that scent kit has been used multiple times. We got over 500 finds nationwide. So we'll move to the next slide and we'll talk a little bit about, I think the kit's next. Yes, here's our kit. It is a tool that you can use as a caregiver. It takes just a few minutes to do it. Your scent is like your fingerprint. It's specific to the individual. So it comes with a glass jar that's been sterilized. It's evidence grade. It comes also with a gauze pad, a sterile gauze pad. So you just take the gauze pad out, wipe it underneath the arms or neck area or glandular area. And if you're doing it for someone you're caring for, wear your gloves. If they can do it themselves, it's much better. You put it in the jar, seal it up, fill out the sticker on front, do your IPP, and there's a tamper-proof strip on there, and then you put it on your refrigerator or in your refrigerator, and you're good for 10 years. It really gives our dogs a much better opportunity in locating an individual. All right. We'll move to the next. Are there any questions so far, Dina?
I have well, two questions. First one is one I just thought of. I was going to ask how long the kits last, because we did one for our daughter, and I see here it's 10 years. So, and I guess that would mean just, my question was going to be, as people age, you know, if you did one for a young child and as they approach teenage and early 20s, would that have an effect on their scent regardless of the 10-year that it lasts?
Minor changes. We do the 10 years because research is going, that's as far as research is going with it lasting. And the way I explain to people, if you have a cedar chest in your home and you have grandmother's sweater or something in there, you go open that cedar chest, you smell grandmother. You smell what she smelled like, right?
Yeah.
And that's just in a cedar chest. Well, this is scientifically captured. We're not sure how far it lasts. As long as it's not dealing with a direct sunlight, it could be more than that. But, you know, every 10 years right now, just get you a new kit at this point.
Well, I just made myself a note. So the other question is, are you tied into the purple alerts in any way?
We are not. We are working with a lot of counties in the state of Florida, and we have a list a little bit further down here with the different counties that we're providing resources to, and we're looking to add more each year. We've been adding about 5 to 6 counties per year with these resources.
Right.
Just to give you a little information about dogs, dogs have 2 air passages. Their nostrils smell independently. That wet nose helps them do their jobs, and they have 225 to 300 million receptors. You know, just so many more than what we have. Their brains, they have an olfactory cortex that's 40 times larger than ours, and they perceive the world through their nose. And they also have I can never pronounce this organ, right? Nasal organ. They actually smell our pheromones, mood, fear, sickness. We have actually had cases where our dogs are trained to sit when they find their individual for a couple of reasons. My wife and I both worked in the mental health field in Florida. So we really wanted to become a trauma informed. So our dogs are trained so that there's not sensory overload for the individuals we're looking for. So when they get there, they find the individual, say they're autistic, the dog just sits down and waits. If that individual wants to pet and love on our dogs, at that point they become a comfort dog. And we've seen this happen time and time again. Well, we've actually found some small children, and we never trained this in our dogs, but we actually had dogs lay down and crawl up to the child instead of sitting. Just, it's really cool to see these things happen. Okay, we'll move on to the next. We also have a protocol we've written that's trauma informed. So we're talking to law enforcement officers about what they're dealing with people are autistic, things that they're dealing with individuals that are dealing with dementia. And we're trying at the debrief, trying to get them resources as well. So we're really trying to bridge that gap so that everybody, once this incident happens, we don't want it to happen again. So we're trying to provide as much care and support for caregivers. This is a very difficult thing. You all know that dealing with individuals that are wandering and maybe running away from time to time. So we do a lot with that with our protocol. Okay, and we actually we will go into facilities and kind of give review your search processes for individuals that may be open and wandering. And we keep a lot of data. We've got over 550 data points on missing persons cases. So we're continuously looking at our data to kind of help with resources and training. There's a couple of opportunities or a couple of cases we had in Florida. We had a lady that went missing for 24 hours in Charlotte County. They had a scent kit on her. Officer Stella there and Copper deployed using the scent kit. They trailed over 2.5 miles and they found the lady in a canal floating on a life preserver 24 hours later. The officer on the right there's from St. Johns County. Same kind of situation, had a juvenile go missing who was autistic. From the time the canine handler got there and collected the scent to the time they found the young man, and he was probably a half mile from the home, was about 7 minutes. Time is so important to us. We want to get there and get them found and get them resources as quickly as possible. Okay, next one. Well, we've already talked about the Franklin County case there. You see, this is a big compound on the right, and that was a trail the little boy walked away from the house there. And when we found him, a lot of individuals that are on the spectrum, or even individuals with dementia, end up in water. And he was up to his waist in water. And the next, I think it was 2 steps, and he'd have been over his head. There's a lot of individuals that we lose to drowning in Florida that are on the spectrum. So having the right resources, responding quickly and efficiently is what we're all about. Okay. Just other cases here. Orange County has 2 of our dogs there. They've had a lot of success finding individuals. Sumter County is below there, 18 missing persons locations. I think they're closer to 20 now. And the ones on the right are Leon County finds that we've had. So this is a tried and true program, and we are locating people just about every day using the system. Okay. Here are locations that we're working with currently all over the state. They have our kits. A lot of them have our dogs. They've all been trained by us. So we're seeing a tremendous amount of success in the state of Florida. These sheriff's offices, a lot of them have the kits available at no charge to caregivers. We've done a lot of work with Elder Affairs, who's purchased kits and put them in their communities. If you're interested in this, we can get you in touch, or we can do something, to assist to get these resources in your community and to the people you're serving as well. And we're continuously improving our training. We just held a training in St. Johns County, a more advanced training to better improve the response of our resources in the state of Florida. Okay. Any questions for me?
Let me open it up. Let me hang on one second. Let me get back to what I'm doing. Let's see. Because I know we muted on entry. If you would like to ask a question, feel free to unmute or put it in the chat or raise your hand. How, and I'll start. So how do you, aside from, you've got about a third of the counties in Florida that you're working with. So what are some of the difficulties you're running into in the other counties and getting them signed up?
Change is a hard thing for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in law enforcement, been in it, and law enforcement, a lot of times, new methods take a little while to get people to buy in. But we're having a lot of success, and we're seeing more and more people come on board with this. So it's understanding that there is a better tool out there that can be used. And not only do they, one of the nice things about it for law enforcement, they can actually use these resources and tools to make our communities safer too. Individuals that they may need to locate because of a criminal issue, our training and systems actually help with that as well. So we recommend use everything, the bracelets and all those kind of things that you can to keep your loved ones safe. but that's just for that one issue. What we do actually can be used for multiple applications.
We did have a question about Polk County. Have you reached out to them? If so, what's the hold up there?
Oh, Polk's got some really good dog teams there. They're really working. We actually had a conversation at the beginning of the fall, and so those conversations have just started there for them. So,
Okay, then another one, Hillsborough County. So we've obviously we've got some participants in these certain counties.
yeah,
Yeah, I would imagine you are reaching out in some respects to bring more counties on, and I'm sure that I would hope that law enforcement in the counties that you are not has seen the stories, and it probably unfortunately only takes one person to not get found for them to kind of help buy into it. Am I correct?
you're correct. We just had that happen just a few weeks ago. A county that was not really wanting to get involved, and I actually went out and worked the case for them, and were able to bring 2 kids back home. And the next day, they're wanting dogs, kits, the whole program.
Mhm.
And it's at no cost to. We were in Osceola County just a few weeks ago, and they're on board now. And the sheriff said the program has been pretty much free for us. It's a new technique. It makes us better prepared for these situations. Why wouldn't we do this? And Seminole County is really behind us a lot. Orange is behind us in that area, Sumter. Pretty much the whole East Coast from Flagler all the way to Nassau are participants in the program.
So is that where your appropriations come in for you to fund it
Right.
through that?
Yes. Representative Plakin has, Scott Plakin originally supported this because his wife had dementia. She passed away and she actually went missing. And now Rachel Plakin has taken up the torch and been supporting us. A lot of kids have come home because of this program.
Well, I know I personally support it. I was telling someone we've got 2 kits, one in our house and one in the group home. So yeah, I'm all about that because our daughter is nonverbal, and it would make a difference. Plus, I got your cell phone number, so I've got like three resources at my disposal. So
we're really excited about where we are. We get to train all over. I go overseas. We just had a guy from Australia come and spend 2 weeks with us. They're putting a program in Australia. We're in Germany and Switzerland, working with teams in Canada. We actually trained this is a great story for us. We had a young lady that's a Paralympic. She's a triathlete for Canada. She's a #2 athlete in the world with the triathlete in the Paralympics. She called and asked me, she said, I want to learn how to do this. So we trained a dog, a golden retriever for her, and went up there. I went up there and trained her with it. And she's already found a missing person with Alzheimer's that was waist deep in water. And she's completely blind. Did it all on her own.
So what is the average, I don't think you covered it, the length of time to train a dog? How long is that, and what age do you start with the dogs?
We start at 10 weeks old, and at usually about 9 months old, they're in their handler's hands and out on the road working.
Cool.
So about 6 to 7 months.
Okay. So have you got any that you could, bring up to the camera there in your vehicle?
Give me just a minute. Let's see if they got a couple out searching. Let's see if I can get one of them to bring one of the pups. Give me just 1 second. I'll be right back.
So again, if anyone has any questions, you can put them in the chat. You can raise your hand. Feel free to ask. I don't think he covered the cost of the kits, but they are nominal for the peace of mind.
Bring Ellie Mae out. So we got, they're going to bring Ellie Mae out here in just a second. They went to get her out of the truck.
Nice.
One of the things that we're doing too, and if there's any feedback anybody can ever give us, is we're continuously revamping and reviewing our program every 3 months. We look at data and success rates and all that. So my wife's a Six Sigma black belt. She worked for DCF for 30 years. And so we're continuously looking at how we can better serve the individuals that our company's targeting. to provide services for. All right, I'm gonna see if I can get this down here so y'all can see.
Okay. I see a leash.
Ellie Mae. Good morning. Can y'all
Oh,
see her?
yes. And
This
this
is
is,
Ellie Mae. She's about 9 months old. She's in Tennessee, and she's up
Wow.
here working cases now.
oh, so pretty.
Oh,
These dogs are not aggressive. We have a dog that's aggressive, they get taken out of our program. We want them to
wow.
be loving, caring. Bloodhounds as a breed itself is a very loving kind of dog, so they pick up on a lot of things.
Oh,
So how long will these dogs be in service?
Till about 8, 9 years.
Okay, and then do you have like the Greyhound where people can adopt and take good
Most of
care
these
of these?
handlers,
They
most
adopt
of
them?
these handlers, they keep them themselves because they
Oh,
become
okay.
their partner. They
Yes,
love them. They're living in their homes with them, and they end up just staying with them usually. About 99% of them.
kind of like canine, I would imagine. Yes. Okay, so do have a question. Are there any other breeds you use, or do you stick just to the bloodhounds?
The bloodhounds are the Cadillacs of this. They've been bred since 646 AD to do this. So those floppy ears and the wrinkles and all that, they are designed to do this work, and they will go and go and go. I had an 11-year-old kid go missing in June. It was 105 degrees, and Stella did 4.5 miles in that heat. So that's the breed we prefer. But we have done it with labs. We've done it with golden retrievers, German short hairs. In Europe, I've worked with 80 different breeds over there. So most dogs can do it.
What is their choice of breed overseas?
They have so many different. They like a lot of the spaniels. They use a lot of German shepherds and Malinois over there as well. A lot of labs. The Springer Spaniels they use a lot as well.
Do different countries or different regions prefer a different dog based on climate and terrain?
Sometimes, yes. But Australia was over. They're putting their first bloodhound into service here in the next few weeks. And because of the way the bloodhounds are designed, it's just a really good tool for that. A lot of them use bloodhounds. The Mals and the Shepherds are pretty durable dogs, and you see that used pretty much internationally. But those dogs can be somewhat aggressive and a little bit scary sometimes. So, but Bay County, they have all Mals, and their dogs have been extremely successful in finding missing persons down there. It's their training techniques they use and the control that they have of their dogs.
One question, because I don't think you covered it or I missed it, the cost of the kits.
They're retail are $24.99, but when we're working with groups, we do a law enforcement, what we call our law enforcement package. So we discounted about 30%
Okay.
for law enforcement or groups that we're trying to. We want these kits in people's hands because that really makes our job much easier.
Well, I know when I will send out a copy of the presentation to everyone that registered, and I will put the web address to purchase. We do have a question. Is there a flyer that perhaps Joe could send to me that we could send out? I mean, we'd be happy to put it in our social media and get it out too, but it looks like other groups would be willing to take this information and disseminate it.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
my cell phone is posted all over everything. It comes directly to me. So if you have a question, call me, and maybe a minute or two before I can get back to you, but we will definitely call you back.
Okay, well, I'll be sure to send out, I'll get some information too and send out to everyone. We usually post our meetings on our YouTube page, but I will push this out one there as well because it's, it is such a great program.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Paul, thank you so much. I don't really have a question. I just wanted to, Dina told me that we were going to do this meeting a few months ago, and I read an article that there was a nonverbal, I mean, he was a young child, and he walked out of Best Buy, and I guess behind the Best Buy store, there was some kind of pond or lake, and he ended up drowning. And I thought right away, as soon as I saw that story, I told Dina, I was like, they needed a scent, if they had a scent evidence, program, or if they had a scent evidence kit for that young man, he probably would have, he would have been able to survive, hopefully. So it's awesome. It's a huge resource. I think it's incredible. So I just want to say thank you, and we appreciate that.
The people you serve is the people we serve, and there's nothing like getting that phone call sitting on the couch on Saturday night from a handler that's still breathing hard, that's got tears. You can hear them crying. Hey, I just brought this little kid. I mean, I was actually on the ground with that 4-year-old, and as we walked in there, the grandfather grabbed me on the shoulder with tears pouring out of his eyes and said, "Bring my grandson back." And to see the minute we saw him, I'll never be able to forget that feeling of picking that little redheaded fellow up and bringing him out of the woods.
It is such a trauma, like you said, for the caregiver or parent that loses a child or loved one. You can't think, I mean, we briefly lost Emily for about 20 minutes in the neighborhood. She was next door in the person's garage, but being nonverbal, and she was about 4. I mean, so as soon as I heard about this, I purchased, and oh yeah, it's such a great service. It really is.
Well, thank you. And if there's any way we can help you, if you're trying to have conversations with your local law enforcement, give me a call, and what I usually do is give them the sheriffs that we're working with and say, hey, just call them and ask them, don't ask me how good this is. Call the sheriffs that are using it and ask them.
Word of
St.
mouth.
John Sheriff, the St. Johns County Sheriff is 110% behind us. Orange County, Osceola, Seminole, Sumter, they're all just Lee County, Charlotte. There's just so many that are behind the program because it saves them a ton of money and resources.
Well,
with
and
a
more
quick
than
find.
that, it's helping protect and save the people, which
Absolutely.
I think is, in this instance, a little more important than money, how much it costs them. So, all right, do we have any other questions for Paul?
No.
Okay, Alan, did you want to say a few words? I know Kaya has a very important message that she wants to say too.
Hi, you want to go first?
You can go first. How's that?
Hey, Paul, this is Alan. I'm the CEO for the ARCA Florida. I just want to let you know we really appreciate you and what you're doing. You're making a difference, and just wanted you to know that we all feel that way.
Well, thank you. And if there's anything I can do for any of you, please give me a call. If you have somebody go missing in your community, I'll probably know somebody within an hour or two of that individual that I can make a few phone calls to get resources to you. So
Wow.
that's our goal.
Thanks.